non-deals.
And as usual, they will work as a team to realize their goals and make the nation proud.
Training imekuwa nzuri sana, tumejiandaa kabisa kuwakilisha nchi yetu kwa event ambazo ziko mbele yetu Tokyo, na kabisa tutafanya vizuri. Okay, naomba wazidi kujikakamua. Okay, wamejikakamua vizuri, tuendelee kushirikiana hivyo na kutia bidii mpaka tuwakilishe nchi yetu, maana najua when we win as a team, our nation Kenya wins. When we shine, our nation shines better. Mimi nimejiandaa vizuri na najua nitaleta medali nzuri kati ya zile zote, the best which is gold inshallah.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the popos. Huh?
Drama.
Will he assault the queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Kupata skiza tune ya karao na DJ, bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash.
Raya, hii ni kwa matiche wote. Please, do not confuse the government. Usianza kufinya ile kitu inasema more fire. Ama ile ya the roof is on fire. Ama unaanza kusema we are killing this party. Ama the party is just a bomb. We are having a blast. No. Wewe cheza musiki and just be vigilant. Enjoy. Ama namna kani. Sawa. Over and out.
Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Star 811 star 967 hash.
Good evening to you, and thank you so much for creating time for us tonight. It is that time again. The news begins, and lately what we have been seeing on our screens are news about couples who are engaged in domestic violence. Sometimes it gets tragic. And we've seen people kill each other in the name of love. We've seen people chopping off essential parts of their bodies in the name of love. And that is what we want to find out. Why is this happening? Tonight we want to discuss that domestic violence and how it gets tragic. How do people get to that particular point where that person you trusted turns against you? We just want to ask the questions as they are and get answers from them that have been through it and them that understand it.
And who better to tell that story other than Diana Kamande, a survivor of domestic violence herself. We'll also be talking to Jane Ngatia, a counseling psychologist. Let's get to know the emotions of what really gets to people. They get to do such acts, of what we would call insensitivity of the highest order, and we'll be looking at that. That will be coming up later with Serfine Achieng. But it is not all blue, because if you've never been inspired, Kenya should inspire you. Last week on Sunday, we were at position 78 in the medals in Tokyo, Japan. Right now, position 19. That's how we finish it. So you can always be inspired by the story of Kenya. Leave the politics aside. There are other things that can inspire.
Things that we look. 10 medals. That is quite something. We celebrate all our athletes for making us proud and for even shining in the African continent. We celebrate all of them. My name is Serfine Achieng. Ouma, good evening and welcome to this broadcast.
My name is John Jacob Kioria, but let's look at the highlights first, and then Sunday Express takes off officially.
Let us not use the criminal justice system to drive our politics.
Deputy President William Ruto accuses some people in government of using the criminal justice system to frustrate those perceived to be opposed to the state.
A comprehensive economic recovery program that will help this country to move from where it is to where it should be going. This is what I'm giving as a free advice to the government.
ODM leader Raila Odinga admits meeting the president in Mombasa for talks, says he is not part of government but an advisor. And Team Kenya's campaign at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics ends on a high with 10 medals in the bag.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter is Byron Abuli.
All right, and let's get right into the news, and we begin with politics, Serfine.
Deputy President William Ruto has faulted a section of government officials for using what he termed as the criminal justice system to drive the country's politics. Ruto claimed the criminal justice system in the country was being abused to intimidate leaders opposed to the government. The DP spoke as Turkish businessman Harun Aydin was arrested on Saturday, remained in custody with his lawyers accusing the government of denying them a right to see their client. Ben Chumba reports.
A day after Turkish investor Harun Aydin was arrested after landing at the Wilson Airport from Uganda, Deputy President William Ruto led his political brigade to castigate a section of government officials for abusing power.
Let us not use the criminal justice system to drive our politics. Let us use ideas, programs and policies. Let us compete. Ndio tuweze kuona ya kwamba the best ideas are the ones that will guide our country into the future.
Speaking during a church service at St. Joseph Catholic Church, Karagita in Naivasha, the Deputy President claimed leaders and investors who support him have now been targeted and oppressed by the criminal justice system.
Mashindano, malumbano dhidi ya viongozi kwa mambo ambayo hayamfaidi mwananchi mdogo inaturudisha nyuma. Watu wengi wameshughulikiwa kwa njia tofauti. Kuna wenye wametolewa katika nafasi zao za uongozi, wengine wamepeleka kotini kwa mambo ambayo sio ya kweli.
His sentiments were echoed by MPs and senators who warned government officials from being used to settle political scores.
Sisi wote Kenya hii tunaona anything related to William Ruto being bastardized. Mumeanza na wanasiasa na wananchi hamjachoka. Now you have even gone to investors and business people.
Hizi sarakasi zote mumeona kwa TV nyingi ambazo zinaendelea kila mahali kutoka 2017 mpaka wakati huu. Hizo ni vitu tu mnaona kwa TV. Mimi ninaomba tafadhali muombe William Ruto. Ile shida ambayo iko hapa na maadui ni wengi sasa, wameongeza zaidi.
Their reaction coming as lawyers representing Turkish businessman Harun Aydin accused the government of denying them a right to see their client. Lawyer Hamed Nasir Abdullahi claims for the second day running, detectives from the anti-terrorism police unit denied him the right to see Harun Aydin. Harun Aydin, who was early this week part of the team in the Deputy President William Ruto's aborted trip to Uganda, will be arraigned in court on Monday to face charges on terrorism funding. Ben Chumba, Sunday Express.
And still in politics, Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga has told of his critiques, stating that he is only in government as an advisor. Raila, who confirmed meeting President Uhuru Kenyatta in Mombasa for some talks, said it should not be misconstrued to mean that he has abdicated his role as opposition leader.
A week after Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga met President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former premier has come out to explain that his role is to continue advising the government on matters of public interest, especially economic recovery.
Beyond this, the government should come up with an economic recovery program, a comprehensive economic recovery program that will help this country to move from where it is to where it should be going. This is what I'm giving as a free advice to the government.
Raila says he has directed ODM members of parliament to formulate a bill pushing for a comprehensive economic recovery plan and reopening of the economy.
We want the government to introduce kazi mtaani for the young people.
Tusikubali kugawanywa kwa msingi wa kikabila, na tatu tusikubali kugawanywa ya kwa huyu hali yake ni hii na huyu mwingine hali yake ni hii.
This as a section of ODM brigade led by Secretary General Edwin Sifuna questioned the Deputy President's motive in diverting foreign investors to the neighboring country of Uganda.
Na wewe unakutana na mtu anasema anatafuta pesa ya kujenga factory ya COVID. Unajua tuko na hiyo shida ya vaccine. Alafu unachukua pesa ya Kenya, unamwambia enda weka hiyo kampuni huko Uganda.
You cannot be the deputy president but taking away your country's money and the investors to another country.
Na mimi nangoja ile siku huyu makamu wa rais atachukua simu, apige bank, aseme iko mama mboga kutoka hapo Kawangware, kutoka hapo Kangemi na Watuma, waje hapo wapatie pesa.
The leaders also called on their former National Super Alliance partners to stop giving conditions for ODM to join their newly formed Okoa Kenya Alliance.
Hatuwezi kuanza kuweka conditions. We must have and negotiate with the open mind.
Suleiman Yeri, Sunday Express.
Still on matters politics, leaders allied to the One Kenya Alliance have faulted Deputy President William Ruto for allegedly breaching government protocols on his aborted Uganda trip early this week. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, his ANC counterpart Musalia Mudavadi, KANU's Gideon Moi, all speaking in separate occasions, urged the Deputy President to follow laid down protocols like seeking clearance from his boss.
The political trumpets went an octave higher with the aborted Deputy President Ugandan trip becoming the weekend's political grapevine. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, speaking in Narok, faulted the Deputy President for what he terms as continuous breach of protocols while in office.
Mimi nilikuwa Vice President wa Kibaki for 5 years. Sidhani ningetoka Kenya, I can't even remember. There's no way I would have left the boundaries of this country kwenda nje bila kupata idhini ya President Kibaki. It doesn't work that way.
The Wiper leader, who served as Vice President between 2008 and 2013, says as per the government protocol, the Deputy President must seek clearance from the President before traveling out of Kenyan borders.
If people have decided to go their way, let them resign, because if he had resigned and he was not deputy president under Constitution 2010, then he has no business informing his boss.
And speaking in a church service at Nairobi IPCA Bahati, KANU party leader Gideon Moi, while in a company of some Jubilee legislators, said the office of the presidency should be respected.
Be very careful, because wakati huu sasa, people are going to be held accountable for their actions.
Tukiwa viongozi wachanga, tumpatie Mheshimiwa Rais Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta nafasi ya mwaka hii moja, tufanyie kazi, na anafanya kazi katika kila pembe zote za dunia.
This even as the leaders called on the church not to allow the pulpit to be used to divide Kenyans.
Kati kanisa linatukosoa kwa yale mambo ambayo tunayafanya sisi, ni lazima tuwajibike. Sio kuanza kukashifu makanisa kwa sababu wametukosoa.
NC leader Musalia Mudavadi, who was at St. Teresa of Calcutta Tena Catholic Church in Umoja, urged Kenyans to vet their leaders based on their development record before electing them.
Wahimize na waombee wa Kenya ili wakati wa kupiga kura wasipige kwa sababu wameongwa, wapige kwa sababu wamefikiria na wameweka mawazo kwa kichwa, watambue kiongozi shupavu.
Timothy Kipnusu, Sunday Express.
And now to some health matters. 800 people have tested positive for COVID-19. This is in the last 24 hours from 6,530 samples screened. The coronavirus positivity rate is now 12.3%, while the total number of infections stands at 211,828. Between Saturday and Sunday, 32 patients succumbed to the disease, all of them being late deaths reported after conducting facility record audits. So far, 4,149 patients have succumbed to the disease. Meanwhile, 278 patients have been given a clean bill of health, 149 from various health facilities countrywide, while 129 are from home-based and isolation. Since March last year, 197,307 patients have recovered from the disease. Globally, 4,304,675 people have died, while with a total of 203,178,675 infections and 182,540,258 recoveries reported. And our family in Kiambu is appealing to well-wishers to help them raise 3.5 million shillings to enable their 3-month-old son undergo treatment in India. Elikim Mutati Ndegwa, who suffers from heart-related complications, is required to urgently undergo an open heart after doctors at the Kenyatta National Hospital referred the family to the MOIT Center for Children's Cardiac Care in India.
The heart palpitations, a hernia causing the bladder to protrude through the abdominal wall are some of the complications Eliakim Mutati Ndegwa was born with 3 months ago.
Alipatwa na kutokuwa vizuri, akawa ako mgonjwa, alafu akawa anapumua sana.
His parents have been in and out of their local health facilities in Kiambu County since May 1st, 2021, when their son was born.
Hawezi kupumua mwenyewe, hawezi kufanya chochote, alikuwa tu anawekwa maji na oxygen kwa huo muda wote. Sasa ikafika mahali, ikawa sasa madaktari wameshindwa. Ikabidi sasa watutume Kenyatta.
At Kenyatta National Hospital, where he was referred from Kiambu Level 5 Hospital, Eliakim was diagnosed with large ventricular septal defect, VSD, a hole in the heart, severe pulmonary arterial hypertension, PAH, a condition that leads to increased pulmonary vascular resistance, and right ventricular failure and hypoplastic aortic arc, all the 3 conditions being heart-related. treated. Unfortunately, his condition needed further evaluation, forcing the chief cardiologist at the Kenyatta National Hospital, Dr. Naomi Gashara, to advise the family to seek advanced medical attention for their child at the MYT Center for Children's Cardiac Care in India.
Saa hii mtoto amechelewa na inasemekana inaweza fanywa kwa muda kama mara 3 hivi, kwa sababu inatengenezwa mara ya kwanza, ya pili kabla hajafikisha miaka 3 na itakuwa imefanywa mara 3 ndio mtoto aweze kuishi maisha ya kawaida.
The hospital in India requires at least 3.5 million shillings to commence his treatment.
Wakenya, tafadhalini tusaidieni, na mkifanya hivyo na nyinyi mtabarikiwa.
To help save the life of baby Eliakim, you can send your contribution to M-Pesa number 0701333207 or simply use the pay bill 247247, account number 333207. Purity Museo, Sunday Express.
All right, it's time for us to take a very first breather on that story. Remember that Bible verse from there Sunday?
We actually were waiting for something like this to happen. Should we wait a little longer, or it's happening right now?
The thing is, it's the Bible that says, he that lendeth a hand to the poor lendeth to God. So that's the work to do with this child.
We have
3.5 million.
We have a lot to talk about during the break, but we hope that help will come your way soon, Eliakim, so that you can get the treatment that you deserve. That story takes us to our first break right here, but don't forget our conversation. We are talking about domestic violence and how to break the chains, because this cycle, these numbers, these cases are just becoming too much. We are going back to the drawing board to understand from somebody who has been through that experience, and also somebody who knows what really happens behind these curtains. Let's find out after the break. You can start sending in your questions and also share with us your experience wherever you're watching us from tonight. Let's take that break now.
Airport kama hii itakuwa ni mzingi wa nchi yetu tukufu, kwa sababu wageni kutoka nchi mbalimbali wataweza kufikia hapa, kuja kutembea au kuja kufanya kazi zao wakirudi makwao.
Hautakii mazuri, usiamini kila mtu.
Sasa kwa hakika angekuwa hana nia nzuri, angekuja kumamkwa Mahe kweli.
Lolote litakalo mtokea Mahe utalipa na kila kilicho nacho.
Tutampenda tiketi kama vile kwa tukimpenda mama yetu mzazi.
Vipi boss? Nataka kazi.
Akikutaka Mahe atakutafuta.
Can't understand why. You get to be crown prince. Do you really think that you deserve to be crown prince?
You don't happen to like me, do you?
I'm warning you. Never touch her again.
How dare you? As public servants, you disregarded lives, spread rumors that vessels were being made.
I thought that. She was just very arrogant. I never thought that she'd do something this evil.
How dare she do that? She deceived me.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo.
Why is it so hard for us to prove Cesar's guilty?
Well...
And now the guy is taking over the entire company.
She just called to threaten me about telling everyone about Mauro.
What? But how did that happen?
We have to prevent this, Cesar.
I want to leave an evidence in case something happens to me.
Lucio heard Lucrecia and Cesar saying that my mother was dead. And today he repeated it in front of Eloisa that Florencia is dead.
Exaggerate. Yes, I'm Horacio Espinosa. I'm here in my house and I'm bleeding. I need help. Mr. Maximiliano Montesinos was hitting me. I can't take it any longer.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente.
All right, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. We're already appreciating your feedback on social media. We'll be sampling some of them as we continue with this broadcast. Still much more lined up ahead for you.
All right, let's move this forward. And women are increasingly venturing into once male-dominated professions and shredding gender stereotypes in employment. Our reporter, Janay Karisa, shares the experience of female plant workers operating big machinery at the Mombasa Southern Bypass project in Mombasa, who are breaking their backs alongside their male counterparts to eke living.
For 29 months, the Dongo Kundu Ocean Stretch has witnessed a beehive of activities as the Kenya National Highways Authority races against time to build two bridges at Mwache and Nteza to complete the 27-kilometer dual carriageway stretch that is slowly taking shape. It is an ongoing 4-year project meant to connect the counties of Mombasa and Kwale. It is here that we come to ascertain whether women can thrive in a male-dominated profession, particularly in matters roads and bridges. It has been a major source of employment for the skilled and unskilled locals here, both men and women. Remarkably though, of the 102 plant operators, 21 of them are women who in recent years are increasingly venturing into male-dominated careers. Asha Jimbisa is one of such envied women who has for the last 17 months operated the lorry boozer. Her passion to do what men do was awoken in high school by the sight of a female tout a decade ago.
Nikapenda na ule moyo pia mimi natamani yani nifanye kama vile, kwani wanaume peke yao yani, kwani wanawake tusitokeleze, unaona.
Her breakthrough in operating big machines came after 2 years in the matatu business when she got employed by the Railways and Bridges Corporation.
Kafanya, nikajenga nyumba yangu ya room 9, kafanya Shimoni miezi 8. HR kaniita, kuna watakana nani mwanamke sasa.
Even though she was not discriminated for being a woman when seeking jobs that are traditionally male-oriented, her two co-workers operating the rollers experienced it. Irene Mombua landed her first formal employment with the authority after tamaking for 4 years. Despite her abilities, Wambua says she had to go the extra mile to prove to her employers that she could do as good as a man.
As a lady, kuna wenye wanakuuliza kweli utawezana. From you wewe unajua unaweza, lakini mtu anakuuliza utaweza kweli.
So was the case for Nancy Mogoro, a ship-foot roller operator who says many Kenyan employers need to be disabused of the notion that only men can do certain tasks.
Getting a job kama hapo kwa China it's better because wao atakuita interview, mwenye atafanya kazi vizuri ndiye anapata, lakini out there it's not easy because si wote wanakuingiza just because umejua wewe unachukua pesa.
At the precast yard along the Dongo Kundu Highway, Gladys Kamau operates the forklift with ease. Having graduated as the only lady in her class in 2014, Kenha has become her first formal employer after hustling for close to 7 years.
Growing up, this has never been my plan. Toka nikiwa shule, I used to admire big machines. So finally nilijipata tu hapa. Since I'm a lady, kuna kitu naweza mbio ni bebe and it's very delicate. So kila mtu wako hapo. Kila mtu wako like atatoboa, you know.
Project engineer Samuel Ogege says Kenha strives to meet the 30% youth and women threshold and urge the locals to embrace training opportunities offered by the authority to access better jobs.
If we basically come and do the road and leave and don't improve the skills of the local people, then once we are gone, nobody benefits. So it is now a deliberate policy that when we have a major project, we make sure that we empower and improve the skills of the youth around that project area.
Wanawake pia tusikae nyuma, lazima tuwe ngangari na sisi tutokeze watu waweza.
It may sound as a cliche, but what a man can do, a woman can also do, if only they are given a chance. Juni Karisa Mbele from the Mombasa Southern Bypass in Mombasa County.
All right, thank you, Juni Karisa, for that report. Of course, now we want to shift gears and get into our conversation of the night. We're talking about domestic violence and how to break the chains of this particular vice that has kept on becoming worse by the day. People are actually giving up on the institution of marriage. Guys are afraid to get into relationships just because of what they see happening each and every day. So what is the problem and how do we fix it? Even if, just thinking about it, is there even a solution? That's what we want to discuss. Is there hope? That's what we want to discuss tonight. But before we get into the conversation and I'm letting my guest into this, there's just something we've, compiled for you, a sample of what has been going on. There's quite a number of cases that have been reported across the media recently. And these are just a few cases to give you an idea of what is happening. There are thousands others who are quiet and suffering in silence in their small corners of the world. Just watch this just to get a glimpse of what is really happening, and then we can get into our discussion with my guests tonight.
Hiyo kifo imetustua sana. Juu ni watu walikuwa wamependana sana na mapenzi yenye hata mtu hata angeamini ati itafika hapa.
Kwa kesi yako kilete hapa ODPP Kitui anasema hakuna kesi mtu anaachiliwa. Nao ndio watu wale wanapaa watutetee.
Mwezi wa 12 akakucha msoso kwa mimi, akanipiga soka, akaniambia atanitishia maisha, ataniua. Akanifukuza niko kwa randi.
Bwana yangu akaanza kuleta mashida, kunipiga. Sasa venye alinipiga mimi nikamuondokea. Hata alikuwa amechukua hata choka nikate. Mimi nikamuondokea tu. Venye nilimuondokea akanibomolea hata nyumba.
Marehemu ndio tunajua na kunywa hivi tukali. Asikia alikuwa anatoka kwa jirani hapo akipita. Ndiposa huyu akampata, wakavurutana, akaletwa hapa karibu na barabara, ndiye amewawa.
So these are just a few cases that were caught on camera. There are thousands others that we may not ever even find out or even know about. But people just trying to put the pieces together, trying to understand what could have transpired among these, couples who experienced this form of violence in their relationships. And that is what we want to talk about tonight. Allow me introduce my guests. I'll start with Diana Kamande, such a strong lady, I must say, and turning your pain into purpose, who will be understanding more about that. But thank you for even creating time to come and share your story with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right. And Jane Gatia, thank you, Jane, also for creating time for us. Jane is a counseling psychologist. You'll be breaking this down for us to understand more about how this happens and what can be done to avert some of these cases. All right. So I just want, first of all, to get your quick reaction, Jane, as an opening, session. Looking at the stories we've just sampled, and you've seen quite a number of others across several platforms out there, and you're even hearing what people are saying on the social media spaces and even just in our social circles about marriage, about relationships and where we are going. What are you reading? What is this telling you as a counselor?
Thank you for that question, Serfine. Yes, domestic violence is real. It's happening. It is actually rampant. Probably what those persons we are talking about from their own experience is just a tip of the iceberg. It is happening so much, and it has increased. It has got worse with the time, and something has to be done. Probably understanding the underlying issues is very important, because we must salvage relationships. We don't need anyone to die in a relationship just because violence came in. We need peaceful coexistence, and particularly in marriages, because you can imagine when somebody dies eventually, or somebody is injured so badly, what does it mean? It means a person is not able to work, a person is not able to take care of the family, like that mother with a young child. You can imagine the child growing without knowing peace, without knowing their father, and maybe later understanding that the separation happened because there was violence. So domestic violence is real, it's going on, and it has to stop.
It has to. Yeah. And it's actually getting tragic. Initially it was just about maybe exchanging a few words here, slaps here, there, but now people are killing each other. This is getting tragic. Diana, thank you so much once again. You have scars of courage that tell your story, and you here today, even by just God's grace, sitting here to tell us. Not many victims usually live to this moment to tell the story. It's usually always a family who's wiped out in a moment just like that. But you're lucky to be here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much. And what I will tell you, I would also have been another statistic together with my daughters in 2013 when my husband that time came back home and he was ready to kill all of us. There is nothing that had happened, but as my counselor had taken me through this journey after healing now the physical wounds and being discharged from the hospital, because when he came back he tried to kill all of us, but he started with me. When he came into our bedroom, he locked himself. He had already bought a sword and he started by cutting me. I survived with 21 cuts on the head and the face. He also decided to cut my hand on my left arm. Only I have a long sleeve. You can see I'm fitted with quite a number of metal plates, and he also pierced my right side breast. And this is not just my story as a single woman. This is a story of so many women outside there, and to some extent even the men who are not speaking. So in his attempt to kill me and kill the children, his attempt failed, and then he turned the sword to himself. And this is how now I became a survivor of domestic violence. The society is against me. Everybody is just throwing words on me, and this is one of the problems that we have with our society.
All right, let me just take you back a little bit before these accusations came to you. So this man, may his soul rest in peace, did he just come that night and from nowhere he did this, or there's a genesis, there's something that happened that led to that?
Actually, we never had bad blood. The way people say that there was something that triggered him. Actually, the very day we had left for work together, he used to give me a ride to town, and then he could proceed because he was working in Lavington. So we had even conversations. And the next morning, which was on a Saturday, we had one of our best friends' wedding in church. And our daughters were part of the Flower Girls. So I remember we had conversations even during the day, and I could remind him that I'm leaving work early so that I can go to church. We have those wedding preparations, then rush home. When I was leaving church going home, I remember even he asked me what I was cooking for dinner, and I told him, and he proposed what he wanted to eat. So I cannot remember at any point where we had like exchange of words or issues.
Was this your way of life as a couple? How would you describe yourself?
Yeah, we had our, it was our way of life, but like any other marriage, we had our ups and downs, but you cannot say that it was a mountain. We had our, you know, the way like you have a problem and you sort it out, and that is the end of it. But the problem that came in that day, it seems there was another underlying issue, the way she has said. There was an underlying issue that he never mentioned about.
Yeah. I don't know whether this is the point I ask, whether you saw any red flags, but I feel like that's a question for later. I want to go way back. I've interacted with your story at least, and you say that this is the one person that for the first time in your life told you that you were loved. He made you feel loved, he made you feel valued, and that is how it ended up into this particular marriage. Did you feel like this could happen from somebody you held so dear after it did?
Actually, I never thought that we could ever have differences that could lead to domestic violence, because we usually had, not usually, we had problems like any other family, but they were not consistent. You see, like the way you would have a difference and then you sort it out. We never even had to go to that point like people go to their pastor to seek for help. No, we just had the normal problems and you could sort them out and life goes on. He was one loving man. He loved his children so much, and I believed also he loved me. But I think I had also a wrong interpretation of what was love, because to me, I thought the way he could take me out, he could buy me clothes, I thought I was so valued and so loved. But I think it was a wrong interpretation.
But this one you came to learn later, that you misinterpreted what love meant.
I misinterpreted what love was, because, and this is what I tell young girls, love is not about somebody taking you out, buying you clothes, taking you to nice hotels. No, love is deeper than material things or whatever is being presented to you on the table.
Jen, how do you interpret this? I mean, it's just one night and then this happens. There is no history of abuse, and there are so many people who say that, you know, hatugombani, tuko sawa, you know, we are okay, we love each other, and then something like this happens. How do you interpret this as a counselor?
That's a very important observation, and actually from records, from research and so on, it is established that by the time the person gets to that point of taking action to harm someone else or to harm themselves, like Diana has said, there must have been build-up of stressors, things he was not able to deal with. And if he was an introvert or a person who does not like talking about his own personal things, then that could have been a real problem. So there was build-up of pressure, and he was unable to deal with that. And again, about what he felt inside is also very important. What people feel about themselves vis-a-vis others is very important. So in this case, I can see a person who had a history of build-up of issues and probably even got depressed, and he became suicidal and homicidal and all that. Because the confusion now comes between, is it myself or is it that other person? And really, it's not about love. It's about what the person interprets of things around himself, and particularly with the people who are very close to him. So if he was a person who could have been able to talk, or if she was able to read a few signs here and there, maybe moments of down, moments of up, and so on, there could even have been other underlying psychological, mental issues that sometimes are not very easy to read.
All right. I'll come back to you so that we look at these signs, because this is where many people miss the point, and then you realize when it's too late. But I'd like to begin with you, Diana, because I know now after you were taken through counseling, there has to be that point where you went back. and you were looking back into your marriage and even your relationship before you got married, you're looking at this man, you're looking at yourself and how you related, the things he used to do, how he treated you, did you now begin to understand that those red flags had been there all along, or it was still a surprise even after the therapy session?
It was not a surprise actually, because I was okay, this man has been here, he has been telling me to go warm food like 3 times. When he comes, he would tell me, go iron this cloth again, go iron again, go iron again.
The same cloth?
The same cloth. And then like when I was sharing with the counselor, she asked me, so you never interpreted this, that it is not what you're supposed to be going through as a woman, it's not what you're supposed to be doing? And I was like, he was my husband, I loved him and I could do anything for him. But the counselor told me, you are going through a lot of abuse, yet you did not know. Because you could prepare tea and he leaves the tea, and then when he comes back in the evening, you ask a question, why did you take the tea in the morning? I was in the bedroom preparing the kids, they're supposed to go to school. And you know, when you still have a young family, as a woman, you have a lot of things to engage with. So in the evening, he would tell me, I didn't want to take the tea because you gave me, the tea was cold. And I'm like, this tea I had just taken out of the tea flask, and he says it was cold. Or sometimes he would intentionally just sit down there until you tell him go to the dining table and take your tea. So there are some of these signs. And then the other thing, he was an introvert. He never used to speak a lot. It is me who could go and ask him what is happening. So sometimes I could think maybe it was pressure because he was the only son in the family. Maybe he has demands from here and there. So to some point you find yourself, maybe you're bringing the blame back to you, like what did I do? And this is what I found with not only me, quite a number of people. They continue asking themselves questions. What did I do? Why is he quiet? Why is he not taking this tea?
So you still want to blame yourself even in that state when you're not getting your right as a whichever, it could be a husband or a wife, but victims of domestic violence tend to feel like it could have originated from them. That's what you're saying?
Yes, and actually that is what even the perpetrator himself or herself would love you to think about yourself.
Okay.
They leave the whole burden to you. They don't want to talk. They don't want to tell you what is going through their mind, or share if maybe they have gone through a period of heartache. You know, it is important to pour out to your partner, but it is me who kept on asking. He could not come out, and yet I'm vice versa. If I'm going through something, I don't keep quiet with it.
You open up. Jen, what is it that people need to look out for? The danger signs, because this was not a physically abusive marriage, and many people would say, okay, we're fine, we're not fighting, we're just okay. What is it that people need to look out for?
In a close relationship like in a marriage, it is possible to tell that all is not well. If you have known the person before, or you are getting to understand them as the relationship grows, there are few changes that will happen. For instance, if a person used to talk and suddenly they kind of like shut down, that is a telltale sign that all is not well. Sometimes people get into drugs abuse, probably if it doesn't matter to them, alcoholism, you know, addictions, all kinds of addictions. And that again should, be checked because the person sometimes will hide behind the drugs, you know. They are not able to deal with the real issues. Abuse can come also in different ways. Like what Diana has cited is very important, that there was that emotional and psychological sabotage. Asking someone, an adult, to do something again and again, ordinarily that is not normal, particularly in a relationship. It's not that she wasn't, it didn't tick. But ideally, when a person keeps on putting the other one on the spot, making them carry the blame, making them feel guilty for things they did do, that in itself is actually abuse, and it should not be underestimated. Because with domestic violence, especially for people in a relationship, it escalates from one level to another.
Okay.
It begins slowly, and someday something erupts, and it's like, what? We didn't expect this.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane, for that. I'll allow you, Diana, to have the last word on this, but I have a feeling this has to continue. For you to be here today to be telling us this, there has to be something that happened in between, from that very horrific moment to this day. You're sitting here, and as a voice for the voiceless, people who are going through this same ordeal, how do you go through such an ordeal? You're left with scars, you're in the hospital, you underwent critical surgeries, and even the emotional healing. We will want to know more about that, but just have your final word for tonight, because people want to know, just give them hope that it is actually possible to walk this journey and still be alive and confident.
My final word would be, it is important to leave an abusive marriage. You don't owe anybody an apology, because dead people will never tell any story about what happened. We saw it in Kiambu. Nobody is left to tell. The woman, neither the husband. So if you're going through it, you would rather seek for help when you are out, instead of saying, I'm trying to work it out. You don't know whether he has bought a gun, he has bought a sword, he has a knife to kill you the next moment. So to me, I always feel it is important to leave before things get worse. Don't wait for things to get worse. And I always tell people, there are two places I would hate anybody to ever land into. Hospital. The hospital ceilings are very boring. I was there for 2 months. The other person is the person who is in the grave. So as Swahili says, adabu ya kaburi ya jua ni maiti, so you will go through it.
Yeah. Before you get to that point,
you'd rather live when you're alive.
Thank you so much, Diana, for creating time. Of course, I can sit here and listen to you over and over again, but we'll get another chance to do this again, because I feel like we've just touched on a button. Many people need to understand how they can be able to sail through this, and whether marriage works, whether there is hope, whether relationships also work. Is there hope? They will be telling us. Keep watching this space. This is Sunday Express. I'll be now handing it over to John Jacob.